started? Okay, welcome everybody to the Unicorn Children's Foundation Disability Voting Rights Panel in partnership with Disability Rights Florida, Access the Vote Florida, the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County. We've got some self-advocates who are on board with us tonight. So we're excited. This is really important information. Voting is one of the most important rights in any democracy. And so we want to make sure that everybody who's eligible to vote can vote, knows how to register, as well as understand how to better understand the candidates and the issues so that you're making informed decisions when you're voting. Some housekeeping rules. This meeting is being recorded, so if you do not want to be visible, please turn off your camera. We ask that everybody mute your microphone so that we can minimize any background noises. Save your questions until the end. You can raise your hand or you can unmute yourself at that time, or alternatively, you can type your questions into the chat box at any time, and Dr. Carrie Morse who's moderating the meeting, will be able to answer the questions at the end. We will also be posting additional materials and resources in the chat section. And then you'll notice at the bottom a black box with words. That's our closed captioning system. If those closed captions are distracting you, you can hide them by clicking on your toolbar. You'll see a live transcript button. And if you click on that, then you can click on hide subtitle. It's completely up to you, whichever works best for you. So tonight's agenda, of course, again, I'm Sharon Alexander, CEO of Unicorn Children's Foundation. We're a nonprofit organization that's focused on creating cradle to career pathways for kids and young adults with developmental differences and helping their families navigate the very complex journey. As part of that, we're engaged in advocacy work, whether it's related to employment, but tonight's focus is on voting because, as most of you are aware, we do have midterm elections coming up. So we wanted to make sure that the information is timely. Next Tuesday, September 20th, at the Special Perks Cafe at Unicorn Children's Foundation in Boca Raton, we are an official voter registration site. So if you are not registered yet to vote, or if you're not sure, please stop by anytime between 9 and 5. We may extend the hours. For those of you joining us, you will be kept apprised of if we do extend the hours, but we will have someone there to help walk you through the process or to double check your status. We also have Jeff Snyder, who's going to talk about why it's so important to vote. It's his personal perspective as being a self-advocate. We also have Deborah Dietz and Jason Hahr, who are going to be talking about how to vote. They represent Access the Vote Florida and Rev Up. At 6:30, we have Joyce Sullivan with the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County talking about how to understand the candidates and issues with Vote 411. Our final speaker of the evening is Michael Lincoln-Mccreight. He's going to be talking about his own personal fight to restore his rights. And then we will have 10 minutes where we'll go over the important dates in terms of what's the deadline to register to vote, what's the deadline to turn in your mail-in votes, and the actual election day. So we'll go over that at the very end. Again, just housekeeping. If you're just joining us, make sure you're on mute until the end of the session at 6:50. If the live transcripts at the bottom are bothering you, click on your toolbar. When you click on live captioning, you can enable hide transcript. And also, final reminder, the meeting is being recorded. So if you do not want to be on video, make sure that you turn your camera off. We will be utilizing this video or this session for future trainings to make sure that more people become aware of their rights and make sure that they're accessing the vote. So some statistics here. Did you know that disability is actually a bipartisan issue? And I just learned this yesterday from another self-advocate who told me that the disability voting rights law was actually enacted by a Republican. People with disabilities represent a large proportion of swing votes. 39% of people with disability are swing voters. 36% lean Democrat and 29% lean Republican. So there's a vast, a diverse array of voters who need to have their voice heard. Unfortunately, while there are 38 million people with disabilities who are eligible to vote, fewer than 30% actually do exercise that right. So our goal is to make sure that more of us are exercising our right, because by voting, we can begin to influence public policy changes, and we need public policy changes that increase accessibility and increase inclusion. And when we do that, it actually benefits everybody in the community. From 2016 to 2020, mail-in ballot access actually increased voting by 6% among people with disabilities. Again, that goes back to our accessibility features. We talked about the sizable percentage of swing voters. And then within the United States of America, there are two primary classes of people who are denied voting rights. These are incarcerated populations and people with disabilities who lose their right due to guardianship proceedings. So while we have some well-intentioned caregivers, sometimes those proceedings can actually impair an individual's ability to exercise their legal rights. So we want to make sure that we are keeping that in consideration as we're preparing adults for future generations or for future activities. Michael's going to be talking a lot about that process and his own experience. So we know that the barriers to voting, we have inaccessible polling places and voter registration offices. These are inaccessible in terms of mobility challenges or site challenges. There are very few accommodations that are made available. Sometimes the way that different policies, the language of the policies are not easy to understand. And that's not just for people with disabilities. I remember not very long ago in the state of Florida where I showed up as an uninformed voter and we were actually voting on whether pregnant pigs belonged in cages. So the way things can be worded can sometimes be confusing. So it's really important that we prepare ourselves in advance and make sure we understand what's going to be on the ballot, which is why sometimes those mail-in ballots, or at least getting the sample ballot and doing your research ahead of time is really helpful. And Joyce is going to be talking about how Vote 411 provides a nonpartisan viewpoint on the different candidates and legislative policies that we're voting on. Some of the states actually deny the right to vote because they're basing their language on antiquated or outdated ways of thinking about citizens with developmental disabilities. When I got into this field approximately 30 years ago, it was really a period of time when individuals had access to effective early identification and early intervention. And now we're seeing individuals able to go out into the workplace. I was on with MSNBC this afternoon with Haley Moss, who is an attorney in the state of Florida. She's the first openly autistic attorney in the state of Florida. So there are no limits on what is possible, and that's why there should not be any limits on your rights. But every single one of us has a responsibility to make sure we're exercising our right. Okay, so how do we help improve disability voting? And we can all do this. We need to remind people, whether it's through the use of social media, emails, calendars, reminding people when election day is and explaining why it's important. Again, if we don't have voices at the table, then we can't influence public policy changes. This is a really important way for you to take part not only in democracy, but within your own community. So we want your voices heard. We need to ask people before the deadline if in fact they're registered to vote. If they're not registered to vote, helping them understand how they can do it. Again, Unicorn Children's Foundation at our Special Perks Cafe next Tuesday, September 20th, we will be hosting a registration site. We want to talk to people about their voting options. You can vote in person on election day. There is vote by mail in most states. And there's also early voting in a lot of states. We need to make sure that for those who require assistance, that they obtain that assistance they need to receive their mail-in ballot. We want to be able to help people research candidates or view their sample ballot. And again, I want to stress that we need to do this in a very nonpartisan way. Let's talk about policies and issues so that people are informed, but they have their own free will in determining how their vote should be cast. Once people receive their ballot, some may need assistance with getting their ballot to the supervisor of elections office. So whether it's helping somebody fill out their ballot or helping them put it in the mail. We were just talking today about a case, I believe it was in Washington State, where they had to fight to have somebody be able to return an absentee ballot to the supervisor of elections office, because there was an earlier ruling that said people had to turn in their ballot on their own. Otherwise it was invalid. So that ruling was actually overturned, which would allow for caregivers or personal assistants to be able to turn in the ballot, not complete the ballot, but turn in that ballot to the supervisor of elections office. So these are some important dates. The last day to register to vote in the primaries is October 11th. The deadline in the state of Florida to request a vote by mail ballot is October 29th. Our early voting period in the state of Florida is from October 29th to November 5th. That's within Palm Beach County. So you make sure if you're outside of Palm Beach County, you check your county supervisor of election website to make sure that those days are consistent. And then election day for the primaries is November 8th. I'm going to repeat this slide at the very end of our meeting so that everybody is clear as to what the dates are. So if you've got a calendar on your phone, you can go ahead and type in those dates so that you get a reminder, so you make sure that you don't miss those dates, or just make some notations for you for future reference. And at this time, I'm going to stop my share. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jeff Snyder. Jeff is a self-advocate. He's been in several publications. He does a lot of self-advocacy work. And I'm going to let him turn it over to him to share his perspective.
Thank you, Sharon. And it's a supreme honor to be presenting here for you all tonight. So a little bit about myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jeff Snyder. I'm a member of the Unicorn Children's Foundation Board of Directors since July of this year. So a little bit about my brief background of myself. I was born in Providence, Rhode Island. I have lived all my life in Seekonk, Massachusetts. I was diagnosed at 21 months with autism at 21 months old. And then I was nonverbal until I was 4. And then in addition, I became the first student with autism to complete an entire education in the Seekonk public school system. And then I have been living in my own apartment since January of 2015. So looking at, and lastly, my educational credentials and awards. I'm a member of Seekonk High School's class of 2007. And my awards include the Massachusetts Secondary School Administrators Association Principals Leadership Award presented by Principal Marcia McGovern, Seekonk High School Student Leadership Award presented by Principal Marcia McGovern, and then of course my high school diploma presented by then Superintendent Dr. Emil Chevret, high school principal Marcia McGovern, and school committee head Robert McClintock. Now, one thing I always do before I do a presentation is I always put in a disclaimer that all pictures and videos featured in this presentation all belong to their respective owners and not me. And the financial disclosure, I, Jeff Snyder, have no financial disclosures to claim at the time of this presentation. Hang on just 1 second, guys. I just gotta, oh, okay. Okay, so to pick up with what Sharon was saying, we must ask ourselves, why do we vote? The law does not require citizens to vote, but it's really important that voting is important in any form of democracy. By voting, you are participating in the democratic process. Citizens vote for leaders to represent them and their ideas, and leaders support the citizens' interests. And if you want a good idea of why we vote, here's an old clip from the 1990s featuring a very good friend of mine.
Nickelodeon presents How to Become President in Just 90 Seconds, starring Boney.
If you want to be president of the USA, there are rules you gotta follow. There's a game you gotta play. Be a good old citizen like George Washington. Be 35 or older, but just wanted a plan. Pick a party to fit your political ideals. Like the donkey and the elephants, to be a tasty meal. An independent run could get you to DC. And if I had a slogan, here's what mine would be. I'm Boney, leave me alone. Primary elections will be your next stop. In the winter and the spring, they pick the cream of the crop. At summertime conventions, state delegates choose who gets the nomination. The other gets the blue. As party candidate, you need one more thing to win. A trusty vice president to join you on the pin. Now kiss the babies, greet the farmers, and the rest. If you need a slogan, mine's the best. I'm Boney, leave me alone. In the fall comes the election of the president.
On the first Tuesday after the first Monday of November.
That's what the Constitution says. Voters enter the vote as long as they're 18. Their right to vote's a groovy democratic scene. Electoral majority is 270. If you reach that number, to the White House you go. January 20 is inauguration day. If you want that job, this is what you gotta say. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will do the best of my ability to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. I'm Boney, leave me alone. Now get out of here!
That was kind of interesting.
So basically, second, I gotta exit out here. But anyway, so what is the main point of, so that is basically why we vote, is to vote for an elected official who will do whatever they want, who will do whatever it takes for the good of the country, of the town, or of the state. So, but why should disabled individuals vote? Well, I believe that disabled individuals should vote because they should have their voice heard just the same as everyone else. And unfortunately, there are some states that silence disabled individuals from saying what they want to say. And it's ultimately up to the individual, himself or herself, to decide whether or not they should vote. And the Americans with Disabilities Act is one of several federal laws that do protect disabled individuals from discrimination or being discouraged because of their disability. In fact, according to the ADA, Title II requires state and local governments to ensure that people with all disabilities have the right to vote. Now, you might be wondering, how do I view myself as a voter? Well, I view myself as an independent, meaning that I can vote for someone either in the Democratic or Republican parties. But it's really important to remember that as a voter, I always try to focus on the issue that I want the candidate to focus on, and not solely on the candidate himself or herself. And it's really important that individuals should not have to be pressured in any way from third parties to vote for a particular individual up for nomination that they don't want to vote on. Now, we're going to watch here a little debate. And of course, this is a film from the 1990s, but it really does hammer the message home. This is a election, if you will, between a toaster and a refrigerator.
The campaign begins. My platform has only one plank. Humans stink and they always stank.
Then my platform has one plank too. Without humans, there'd be no you.
They created us so they could destroy us.
But if they hated us, why would they employ us?
They're wasteful, distasteful, and mean.
Hey, kindest creatures I've ever seen.
It surely is a riddle.
Is a human a friend or foe? Only the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Closer to good, closer to bad, depending on who you know.
The power is in the wrong hands. Time that we make our own demands.
But power's a weak person's crutch. What we need is a human touch.
We're not falling for mindless adoration.
I'm just calling for real cooperation.
With humans who cheat,
Who smile,
who overeat,
they give you caresses.
they fight and make messes.
They struggle and toil.
They smell like a camel.
They're thrifty and loyal.
They scratch your enamel.
A human is a gem.
You sound like one of them. It's humans who twist and distort.
Does he seem like the evil sort?
Clearer and clear, we haven't much to go on. Is a human a beast or not? Everyone here would like to get the show on. Do wiggling him, do wiggling him.
Let's give him a little tot.
Nice!
Don't vote for this goody-good fluff. Nice is nice, but it's human stuff.
Appliances, let us unite. Nice is nice, and what's more, it's right.
Fight!
So that's basically what so that's basically the
The cat.
so that's basically what goes on in a campaign. You got two candidates that want your vote, but it's really up to you to decide who you're going to vote for. And so, in conclusion, voting is for everyone, and no one should be stopped from ever having their voice heard at the ballot. Remember, at the end of the day, doing your civic duty is enough to make yourself proud that you did a service to your community and your country. So, if anyone ever wants to reach out to me, my website is going the distance. My email is godistance3562@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and I also have a profile on Speaker Hub. And also, if you're interested, I'm a contributing author to the book This is Autism, with another unicorn family member, Rachel Barcelona, that is available on Amazon.com for $19.97. And if you would like your book, if you would like your copy to be signed at a future in-person event, just let one of us know. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That was really great information. Now I'm going to turn it over to Deborah Dietz and Jason Hahr. They're going to talk about Access the Vote Florida and Rev Up.
All right, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm Jason Hahr, and I'm here with my colleague Deborah Dietz from Disability Independence Group. And Access the Vote Florida has a unique history. We came out of the 2018 election cycle. I myself, Ms. Debbie Deetz, and Mr. Tony DePalma from Disability Rights Florida saw that there was a need for a voting coalition in the state of Florida, and using the model developed by the American Association of People with Disabilities, AAPD, we developed the coalition. We are going strong now for, I can't believe it's already 2022. We host monthly full chapter meetings, and around election time we hold weekly committee meetings on Friday the 11th. Debbie, do you want to?
You want me to take over, Jay?
Yeah, no.
All right, so as Jay was telling you, we are the state chapter of a national voting rights organization. And the aim of the campaign is to increase political participation of disability communities while engaging candidates and the media on disability issues. And what that means is the whole point of the campaign is to get people with disabilities. I'm sorry, the host is asking us to start a video. I don't know what that is.
Your video is just turned off, Deb, that's all. We
Okay.
can't see you. There you are.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so basically the whole point of the campaign is to get people with disabilities to go out and vote and to explain to the candidates that are running for election what issues are important to people with disabilities and why they need to care about those issues so that they could get the votes of the people with disabilities. And just like Sharon told you at the beginning, there's a lot of people with disabilities that have the potential to vote. And as you all know, in Florida, our elections are very, very close. So any change in the amount of people that vote could change who wins an election in our state. So that's why this project is so important, and that's why Jay and I wanted to bring the project to Florida. So let's go on. The importance of voting. Now, you've already heard the other speakers talk about this from their perspective, but I want to stop and see if anybody knows the person who is on the screen. And I can't see the chat, so Carrie, if anybody puts it in, will you let me know?
Let's see. Anybody know who this is? Go ahead, type in your guesses. I don't know.
Okay. Well, his name is Justin Dart Jr.
William Rose, you're the winner. You knew it. Good job.
And he is known as the father of the ADA, which stands for Americans with Disability Act, which you heard earlier is one of the laws that allows people with disabilities to get to vote. And he has an interesting history. He was born in the 1930s, and he was, as I said, one of the ones that helped pass these laws. And he has a very interesting background. His grandpa started Walgreens, the drugstore that everyone goes to. So he has a very interesting background, and he contracted polio when he was 18 and became a person with a disability. And he's like, wait, I want to vote just like everyone else votes. And He worked very hard to make sure that this law passed, and he went in his car with his cowboy hat on, driving all over the country so that this law could get passed. So he's very important, and they consider him one of the leaders of the disability community to allow this voting to continue. And as you heard earlier, voting is one of your fundamental rights. It doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor or you're old or you're young, as long as you're 18 or older, you get one vote and your vote counts just the same and is just as important as anybody else that gets to cast their vote. And that's why voting is so important and your vote matters. So you might think, oh, there's so many people voting. What's one vote gonna make a difference? And it truly can. And if we have time, I have some examples at the end. We'll show you where that one vote really does decide who wins an election. Now, as Jay told you, our chapter is called Access to Vote Florida, or ATVFL for short. A for access, T, the, V, vote, and then FL for Florida. So we want to tell you what we're currently doing and what we're working on. And it's Disability Voting Rights Week right now. And this event is actually part of that week, where we're going to do all kinds of activities to tell people about why voting is important, how you vote, the dates to vote, and all of the different ways or choices you have to vote. And that's what this is about tonight, one of those events. So the next thing, how can you get involved? You can join our group. It's open to anybody in the state of Florida. You can join our mailing list and just follow what we're doing and stay connected and learn. You can join one of our 3 working groups, and you can attend our monthly meetings. So we have 3 different working groups. One is communication, and we do social media posts, blog posts. Another one is candidate outreach, where we're actually making a list of questions that we're going to ask the candidates on what they believe or feel about certain issues that are important to people with disability, like housing, employment, different things like that. And so if you want to work with us on that, you can. Or our third one is about programming or activities that we're going to do. And what we're doing is getting ready for a big summit next week, where we're going to have different speakers and different panels and explain voting in a lot of detail, because this training's an hour. The one we're doing next week is like half a day. So we're going to spend half a day talking with speakers and explaining all about voting and issues and the way you can vote. Or you can just attend our meetings and meet other people that care about voting and are interested in voting. Now I have 2, we're almost out of time, and I know we're trying to stay on track. So I have 2 quick questions that I wanted to ask everybody. And this is, did you know? And this happened, there was a race in Virginia, and there was a tie, and it's really interesting how that race was decided. And I'm just switching to my notes. So this happened in 2017. And it was a Virginia House of Delegates race that ended in a tie. And the way they decided who won this race was pulling a name out of a hat or out of a bowl. Can you imagine? You campaign, you spend all this money, all these people vote, and the winner is decided by picking a name out of a bowl. That's crazy, right? So here's where a one vote really would have mattered. Let me show you another one. Here's in Wyoming. Here's another situation. This was in 1994. This is
my favorite one.
This is the House of Representatives race. And there was a Republican and an independent candidate that tied. And they kept recounting the votes over and over. No matter how many times they counted the votes, it still ended in a tie. So the way they decided was by drawing ping pong balls out of the governor's cowboy hat. And that's how they decided who was going to be the House of Representatives representative in Wyoming. Once again, all that money, all that campaigning, all those votes, and you're picking a ping pong ball out of a cowboy hat. Just crazy. So how can you work with us? You can email us, you can look at our website, and join us. It's fun. Jay and I have a lot of fun doing this work, and we would love you to be involved with us.
Come
And
join us.
lastly,
Come join us on Friday. What is this Friday?
yeah, this Friday, we're supposed to talk about our candidate questionnaires, but my guess is we'll probably talk about our big summit since it's Tuesday, or we'll do a combination of both. But Jay and I wanted to thank you for your time, and we're here to answer questions after.
Thank you so much, Deborah and Jason. That was great information. Thomas, can you unmute yourself? You actually had an interesting piece of trivia that I did not know, and I think that you should share.
Oh, okay. Hello, everybody, including Jeff. As you may not know who I am, but I'm Thomas Gomez. I am the first graduate of the Unicorn Village Academy over almost 10 years ago, and I'm a former VP of the junior board. Well, you know, I still attend the junior board meetings with everyone else. But over the last few years, I worked at Walgreens for almost 8 years of my career. I am a designated hitter and a district safety lead. I also help out a lot of people, including pharmacy, which I'm still learning to this very day. Now, I wanted to talk about the importance of with people with disabilities and their rights to vote.
Wait, Thomas. No, what I was hoping you would share is the trivia that you shared with me about Jason Dart, what you shared in the chat with me.
Oh, right, yes, about the man Jason Dart. Where I had no idea that Jason's Dart grandfather was the founder of the Walgreens company, which I have not noticed about.
I did not know that either, and I thought that was really interesting that his grandson is the one who was responsible for, pushing the right to vote. So Thomas, thank you so much for sharing. I learned that's the second thing I've learned today, so I'm excited to hear about that. All right, now Thomas, if you could go back on mute. Now I'm going to introduce Joyce Sullivan with the League of Women Voters, who's going to talk about, we've heard about how to vote, why to vote, and now she's going to talk to you about how you can understand what issues are available and learn more. And I think there's a nice cross section, Deborah and Jason, with the candidate surveys that you're doing with what Joyce is doing. And special shout out to Pam Maldonado, who connected with us, who's been wanting to do a lot of work in the disability voting rights field. And she actually connected us with the League of Women's Voters. So Joyce, I turn it over to you.
Wow, good evening. Just from the statistics that I've learned tonight, I would love some of the candidates that have not responded to our Vote 411 to understand what a difference you would make, that people would make if they would just vote, and the importance of it. So, well, first of all, my name is Joyce Sullivan, and I am the chair of the Vote 411 Digital Voter Guide. And then we have a printed guide that we distribute in October. And I'm very excited to be here. I do want to introduce Kathy Gunlack. She's our president. Thank you for coming. And Pam Maldonado, you're right. Pam, when she gets on something, I'm telling you, and she stressed the importance of us being involved in this organization and us helping you. So Pam, thank you for everything that you've done for us. So I'm going to just tell you, if I could see the first slide, just tell you a little bit about us. Go to the next one. We've been around for 102 years. Some of us feel like 102, but and we're all over the country. We're in the District of Columbia. We're in the islands. We're even in Hong Kong. And in Florida, we have 29 leagues. And Palm Beach, which we're very proud of, we have over 500 members, and I think we're in the top 2, and I think we're in the top 2 in the country. So we're just excited about what we're able to do, because our mission is empowering voters and making a difference, you know, in democracy. Although we are nonpartisan and, you know, we don't support or oppose any candidates, we don't get involved in races, other than the fact that we produce this Vote 411. So Pam, I'm going to tout you again. Between May and September, they have 90 events scheduled. Can you believe that? And in last May, they did a little bit over 1,000, registered over 1,000 people, of which I think it was 932 were students, because they went to the high schools, and it was the students were getting their caps and gowns. The Pam and Phyllis's team went in there and registered over 900 votes. And I, Diane Marks, I know you're on also, and I know you have a lot to do with the schools. So in September, the 25th, it's going to be the same thing with National Registration Day. They're going to go back into the schools. So I think that's really important. And like I said, I'm really excited about you all getting to votes. So could I have the other page, please? Okay, we launched, actually, the League of Women Voters U.S. Education Fund launched Vote 411 16 years ago. And we've tried year after year to make it easier for voters to make choices and understand what's going on. We have data, we have actual questions from candidates that we've created, and I'm going to go over that a little bit. But we can take you from soup to nuts when all the voting deadlines, which I know you went over before, but we have everything I think that you're going to need in this Vote 411. You know, it's important because with the redistricting, we went from a little over 1,000 precincts, and I think we're down to like a little bit over 750. So one of the things that Wendy, who's the supervisor of elections, said to us, people are really having a problem understanding where's the precinct. And yes, Thomas, did you need me?
Sorry. No, I didn't mean it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be able to do tonight. So let's take a tour. Now, I'm going to try to share, so have patience with me, guys. Have patience. Okay. Here we are. We have 3 items where you can go in and vote 411 and you can register to vote. It goes through a third party. But the way we have it in our county, I think we do a great job right on our own. The other thing you can do is go in and verify your voter registration. And if you look at this, one of our residents, they come to Florida in the wintertime, but they could hypothetically live in Ohio. And the way Vote 411 is set up is when you put your address in, you can find out everything, all the candidates specifically in your district on who's running. And it's important because a lot of people, I mean, you could live in Port St. Lucie, you could live in Miami, because of the 29 leagues we have in Florida, 25 of the leagues are very active throughout Florida with Vote 411. So I think you're going to find this really easy to navigate. I won't go through everything tonight because I know we don't have a lot of time. Here is the personalized voting information. And I know you all talked about deadlines. You can check your voter registration. And I know with vote by mail, Pam's really adamant about going into the SOE to make sure, hey, and you can go into the state, it connects you to the state database, and you can check to see, did they receive my vote by mail? And Pam's always telling us, do it, do it, do it. You find your polling places. Actually, you can go on to Vote 411 and you can find debates. And it's really, really throughout Florida. There aren't too many debates because a lot of the politicians, they're not really into it this year. So you can understand, I guess. So I'm going to put my address in. And let's see, can I move this a little bit? Maybe I can do this. No, I need to be able to, yes, okay. here's my address. Now, right now, we are not even going to go live until September 21st. We took down all of the primaries. We took down the winners, the losers, and then we have candidates that weren't even in the primary that, they didn't have an opponent. So all of this is going to be up on Vote 411 on September the 21st. So it says, and this, go to my races. Okay, right now, if we had everything up and running, every candidate in your district is going to show here. And what we've done is we created questions locally for the local candidates, the local league did it. For state and national candidates, the state league did it. And we try to create the questions that make sense for the race that it's running and to be in the middle of the road, to try to be what we are, as bipartisan as we possibly can. We send out an invitation. All but 2 candidates have responded in Palm Beach County. We're really excited about that. State, it's a little bit more difficult, and federal, but this is what's here now. So anyway, have you ever noticed that in 2020, we had so many amendments and you're like, number one, they're way down on the ballot. And then you're like, what does that mean? And I'm going to show you this. Amendment 3 is they're going to do another exemption, another $50,000. But if you click on it, what you see is a summary. So you're thinking, well, why are they doing that? What's the reason or anything like that? And it's like, well, this is why. When you click on September 21st, you're going to find District 2 County Commission. You're going to find the 2 people that are running. You're going to find the questions that were asked and their answers. And that's going to help you make an educated decision. It's really, it's helped so many voters in the past. So really excited about this. So back on September 21st, please come back to Vote 411 and you'll see this. The other thing I wanted to show you, and it's going to be our printed guide. We take everything from Vote 411 and we download it into a printed guide. This year, we're going to have 32 pages. It's going to have every candidate that's running for office, whether they've answered or not. It's going to have all the voting information that you need. It's going to have information on the judges. I think it's the cover of it's that other graphic that I sent you. But you will have everything that you need to know. We are going to go into the Palm Beach Post and to the Sun Sentinel on Sunday, October the 9th. But we have volunteers that are going to distribute 30,000 additional copies. That's the top part of our printed guide. Again, it's going to be 32 pages. We're going to deliver them to churches, to organizations. They're going to be in every library. They're going to go to all the government buildings. So you think about 30,000 copies, that's a lot of copies. So if you know an organization and you think that they would like that, my email is going to be in the chat, and just email me and let me know anything that you need. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. So I hope I was clear. I'm used to doing this. I feel like I do it in my sleep right now. And I tell you, Pam Maldonado, again, has helped us contact candidates, and she's very persuasive, very, very persuasive. So I thank you, and we're so excited to be a part of your organization, and we look forward to helping you in any way that we can. So there it is.
Thank you so much, Joyce. Again, I like the cross section, and perhaps Deborah and Jason and Joyce, and you can all get together and talk about the candidate survey. I do want to circle back to Deborah. She mentioned the summit that's going to be held on September 20th. And on September 20th, we also will have a representative from the League of Women Voters who will be at our voter registration site. We will be playing the entire summit. So if you have nothing else to do today and you're already registered to vote, you're certainly welcome to come to our cafe and hang out, have some coffee, hot chocolate, and actually watch the summit live while it's on. Kathy has her hand raised. Is that on purpose or by accident? Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
It's on purpose. One of the things I want to say about the vote 411, it gives you an opportunity to look and study all the candidates and the issues so you can mark who you want to vote for before you go to vote, if you go in person, or before you mark your ballot. And also, if you have the hard copy of the voter's guide, you can mark it right on there. I take it with me to the polling place, so I know what I want to do. It lets you do that study beforehand, so you have it with you. It's a great way to go to vote, so you know what you're going to do. And we want to thank you so much, and Pam, for reaching out and making this wonderful connection. This is
Yes.
exciting for the league. Thank you all so much.
Yes,
Wonderful. Thank you for all that you do. All right, so we're running a little bit behind, but the next story I think is so powerful. Definitely want you guys to stick around to listen to the story. If we run a little bit over, we'll stick around to answer the question and answers. Otherwise, we can put together an email with the question and answers and send that out to you. But before I introduce our final speaker, Carrie, can you go ahead and launch the poll? And I want everybody to be able to answer the poll while Michael's sharing his story, and we'll review that at the very end. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over. Welcome, Michael Lincoln-Mccreight.
And I'm going to share a video that Michael asked me to share while you guys are completing the poll.
All right. Good evening. Before you do that, good evening. My name is Michael Lincoln-Mccreight. As you can tell, I'm not in a bedroom or anything like that. I'm actually on duty right now protecting a construction site in the middle of nowhere. I'm surprised I even have service. But I want to say thank you for inviting me to speak. This was a last minute thing because I saw the email. I'm like, oh crap. But if you want to go ahead and share that video, and then I can speak after that.
Sure. Oh, hold on one second. Let me make sure the sound is shared. Hold on. Okay.
If people are saying that you cannot do something, they are liars. Just because we have a disability doesn't mean that we can't do anything. My vote and my voice matters, and that's why I fought to get my rights back. I was put in a plenary guardianship, which basically takes all of your rights away. The right to vote, the right to get married, the right to have social interactions with friends, the right to choose where you want to live. Any right that a normal human being had was taken. It really made me upset and sad because I feel like everyone has a right, but I overcome it. It changed my whole lifestyle. It changed where I lived. It changed who I was able to hang out with. It changed me from doing all my volunteer work. It just changed my life, went a total 360. I love helping people. Helping people is my passion because you're on that front line with the nurses, helping to save that person's life or helping them to be more comfortable when they're going through a difficult time. Thank you so much, Carrie, for that. So yes, back in 2016, I had my rights fully restored from
being in a full guardianship where I couldn't go see my family, couldn't go see my friends, couldn't even vote. And let me tell you, when the first election I went in, I interviewed a candidate, and she was, and this was actually in committee last year, but I told her, I said, my name is Michael, and I'm a person with a disability, and I would like to interview you before I vote in the polls. And I took a list of questions and I sat her down, and she was like, that was the biggest interrogation questions I have ever had voting in my whole entire life. And you know, I do that to every process that I go through. I make it seem like it's an interview, because I'm voting for you. And if I elect you into office, I want to make sure that you're going to advocate for our individuals with disabilities, because our voice does matter. Our voice, we are not just people that get swept under the carpet, or people that it's just being ignored. We are human beings just like everybody else. And when I interview these candidates, I always say, if you were a person with a disability, what would you do to advocate for yourself? And the common answer is advocate, advocate, advocate. And, you know, I'm constantly on these legislators. Like, I'm always calling them like, hey, I want you to come to these events. You know, actually, I'm speaking in Port St. Lucie on Monday on supported decision making, because, you know, I'm advocating for a bill that I'm working with Disability Rights Florida on for supported decision making. And, you know, the right to vote is very powerful, because it's making your voice heard and it's making your voice count. And it's just a powerful tool. And my goal one day is, if I run for office one day for anything like county commissioner or House of Representatives, I want to make sure that our people with disabilities are heard, and I want to make sure that our voice is heard, because no one should have their rights taken away in the state of Florida. And even if you do have your rights taken away, your right to vote should not be taken away. So yes, I talk a lot, but yes, that's all I got. Thank you.
Awesome, Michael. Thank you so much.
What a great story, Michael. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for being such an amazing self-advocate to realize that what they did was not right, and that you deserve, you've got human needs, right? And you've got the right to live your life the way you want. So I want to thank you for sharing that story. And at this time, Carrie, I don't know if you've got the polls closed. I didn't see them open.
I just relaunched, so you're now viewing the questions. Those of you that are co-hosts, let me change your designation so that you're able to participate.
Okay, and while we do that, I want to open it up to questions. Does anybody, if you have questions, you can either write it in the questions or comments. You can write it into the chat, or you can take yourself off mute. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Michael, you had a question, I believe, for Debbie earlier about the questions for candidates, correct?
Yes, correct. I do want to see if I can get a copy of those, because like I said, I do interview my candidates. So, and I talk to them a lot. So, you know, it's always a good tool for me to refer back to. And you're from Disability Rights. Hi, co-partner.
Hi, Michael. So we're doing it as part of Access to Vote Florida, which is part of Disability Rights. So it's going to be on the website. And what's cool that we're doing this year is we're going to explain the topic first so that we can educate the candidates. And then we're going to explain to them how the issue is unique for people with disabilities, and then ask the question. So it's in like 3 parts, like a quick example, opioid epidemic is a big deal. So we're gonna explain the opioid epidemic. They're gonna explain the unique perspective for people with disability that need those medicines, and then ask the questions to the candidates. And we're gonna do that with several different issues. But Michael, it'll all be on the Access the Vote website, and all the answers will be there too.
Michael, you need to take yourself off mute.
Okay,
There
thank
we
you.
Okay, I think what's really important, a lot of us take for granted our right to vote, and we don't always exercise it. And I think Michael's story, you don't know what you have until it's gone. And the fact that Michael fought so hard to get his rights back, to make his own choices about his own life, is a really great example that we should all appreciate the fact that we have a right to make our voices heard. And that's why it really is our civic duty to make sure we're registered to vote, we're informed about the candidates and the issues, and we're exercising that right. Does anybody else? I see here Angela Fisher said, excellent, Michael, you gave her goosebumps.
We're going to end the poll in about 1 minute. We have 17 of 25 who have responded, so we have a few more trickling in. If you could complete your poll.
So Thomas, I saw that you wrote that you confirmed you are a registered voter, correct?
Sorry. Yes, I am.
Excellent. And then if you can use your raise your hand. Let me see. Okay. Joyce would like to have the statistics that were presented. So we will be sharing this video. And Carrie and I do have the presentations, which we're certainly happy to share that with everybody as well. I also included in the chat some links to some presentations that have been done by Disability Rights Florida and Access the Vote, as well as some resources. So make sure when we send out, I believe we get a copy of the chat transcript, which we can actually send to everybody as well.
I'm going to end the poll and we'll go over all of the results. Let's take a look. All right, can you see them there, Sharon?
Not yet.
Deborah's shaking yes.
Oh, maybe because I'm co-host, maybe I can't see.
Okay, let's see. Can you see the poll answers there? Okay, I can review them. So number 1 says, have you ever voted before? We have 18 that had said yes and 1 no. So hopefully that one individual will get a chance coming up soon, or perhaps maybe they're under the age of 18 and they'll have an opportunity when they turn 18. Number 2 says, when did women get the right to vote? So 18, most people responded 1920. Debbie, is that correct? You're the judge here. Yes, 1920 is correct. All right, nice job, everyone. When is the general election in Florida this year? November 8th. Deborah, the judge, says yes, that is the right date, November 8th. Number 4 says, when do you need to register to vote in Florida for the November 2022 election? And the most popular answer was October 11th. And that is correct. Do I have to vote on November 8th? Most people said no. Some people said yes. And the answer is?
No.
No, because what is the option?
You can early vote and you can vote by mail. So
There
it
you
doesn't
go.
have to be on that date.
Lots of options if you want to vote early or by mail. And then what do you need to bring with you to vote in person? So all people responded a current and valid photo ID with a signature, and that is correct. How many people are registered to vote in Florida? Most people selected 14 million people, and that is correct. Wow, smart group we have here, educated group. What percentage of people voting in the last presidential election in 2020 in Florida? So most said 77%. And that is correct. Thank you. I want to say thank you to Debbie for sharing those questions. Do you have any comments? Debbie, do you use this poll often, and what kind of results do you get?
I made it up just for you guys. I never have done it before.
It's
It's just for you.
All right. We've got a smart group. So
Yeah, it looks like
I'm
everybody's
impressed.
done their homework.
So I want to take this time to thank everybody for taking the time to join us this evening. Again, if you want to join Unicorn Children's Foundation, Unicorn Children's Foundation Junior Board, feel free to visit us on our website, unicornchildrensfoundation.org, or reach out. You can call us at 561-620-9377. I also want to thank our partners tonight, Disability Rights Florida. Unfortunately, they could not be here tonight because they're getting ready for the summit. Access the Vote Florida and Rev Up with Deborah and Jason. Thank you. Our self-advocates, Jeff Snyder and Michael. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And the League of Women's Voters, Joyce, Pam, thank you for jumping on board with this. We're really excited about next Tuesday. So if you haven't voted, if you're not registered, please come by and visit us. And a special thank you to Dr. Carrie Morse, who agreed to moderate who was voluntold to moderate this meeting, and she did a really great job. So we're really excited to continue this conversation, not just before the elections, but let's have a year-round conversation, making sure everybody understands their rights, so you're never have to experience a situation like Michael did. So thank you all for attending. We'll be sending out copies of the recording, and we look forward to hopefully maybe seeing you next Tuesday. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.